Finally, I'd like to look at a few things to consider when you're thinking about an interface and trying to find out which one might be right for you. The first thing to do is just think about what you already have, your computer. What's available in terms of hooking it up to an audio interface? Do you have USB and hopefully USB 2.0, which is faster? The original USB is a little slow and not that great for audio. USB 2 is great. FireWire 400 and 800, which is, the earlier version, and the later version right now is, I think, 800. Those both work really well, but if your computer doesn't have that, well, it's not going to pan out for you. And finally, the PCI card, if you have a laptop, that's not an option. If you have a computer and you're not into opening it up and slapping a card in there, then maybe you need to go USB or FireWire, which are great. They're all great ways to go, actually. They all function pretty well. It's just a matter of finding the right fit. If I had to have a preference, I would shoot for FireWire 800 these days. Also, how many tracks do you need to record at once? Different interfaces will give you a different number of inputs. If you only need to do one microphone but a couple line inputs, one kind of box can handle that. If you need to do 8 microphones, then you need to look into something with 8 mic inputs and maybe 8 mic preamps. So just keep in mind how you think you'll be using it. And also playback, different devices. If you're going to try and play back a lot of channels, 32, something like that, sometimes the slower connections won't be so great. So going back to the first point, FireWire and things like that, they can help. It's also good to keep in mind where the end product is headed. As I mentioned before, you can use that to kind of determine the sample rate and bit depth that makes sense for your project. Obviously, different qualities are required for different types of productions, so keep that in mind. And finally, portability, durability, and affordability. And I also like to say if it looks cool is important too. If you're going to be moving around with a laptop or you're going to be taking this over to a friend's house to work, try and find one that's not huge and luggy, but also seems like won't break if you drop it or won't scratch. And just feels that you can tell when you pick stuff up if it's kind of feels a little more durable. And then affordability, there's a really wide range. You can go from $100 up to $1,000 easy and find stuff at every interval in between. It's okay to start out with something that's not super expensive and just get used to working with stuff. A lot of times that leads you into learning about what you wish you had out of a system, as opposed to getting the big system and not necessarily utilizing all the features right away. So these are just a few more things to keep in mind when you're looking at audio interfaces and you're thinking about incorporating one into your audio system.